Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
I don't know what you people think out there, but I don't know too many people that buy anything of real substance without having a conversation. Yeah, I go on Amazon. What's the most I've spent on Amazon? I'll spend a few $100s. Well, I bought a computer on there. Just thinking it through. But I've never bought like a consulting package or something like that, just without having that initial conversation. And maybe that's just me. And obviously a lot of the purchases on Amazon, when you're buying something, you can't really take back services. I mean, you can decline before, the deal consummates. But if I bought the computer and it wasn't what I wanted, I can take it back, so I don't know if that's not really a risk. But just, at what point do we get to that level of trust, if you will, that, hey, we're going to make a purchase. Today I have on the program Heidi Medina, not Medina, Medina. There's a Medina, Ohio, and I needed to get that straight. But her and I agree. Trust is probably the most underrated currency online. And the question is how do we build it? And Heidi and I have talked before. We kind of kick this around. Okay, where does trust happen? Where does it not? Anyhow, she's originally from the United States, and right now she's based in Portugal, which, Heidi, I want to bring this up, and we can talk about your background in that. But one of the interesting things you said, and really ties into this, when we originally talked, when you first moved to Portugal, you changed your LinkedIn profile to say Portugal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and business immediately dropped off. And when you changed it back to Denver, what happened?
It picked right back up within a week. I mean, people stopped taking my connection requests or sending so many. I mean, they dried up. I mean, I got a few. Don't get me wrong. I got a few. People quit following me. I got less responses on my content. And I did this for a year. This wasn't a short experiment. Yeah. And then literally a week after changing it back to the States, everything went back to what I was used to.
And I think that's because of trust. Not that there's anything wrong with Portugal, but it's like, okay, yeah. I'm dealing with somebody in a foreign country. I don't know how this works.
It's location bias in that case, and it's a lack of knowledge of the world and things like that. So yeah, it's all about trust. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have asked me if I have clean drinking water, and I literally live in a first world country.
Yeah. I mean, the only other explanation I have other than trust is that people were just envious that they're in their rotten little town in Midwest United States. I'm not dealing with Heidi. She's in Portugal. She's made it. I don't know. I say that kiddingly. But I think that's interesting. It really, really kind of ties into what we're going to talk about is that, know, like and trust. You have to have know, like, and trust. You're going to do business with somebody. I think we all agree. It's a question of when that trust is. And, for me, like, as I shared in the opening, it's like, I've got to have that feeling. And you and I've talked about this. You don't think it's quite as much that you don't necessarily have to have a conversation, but
I think I disagree with you on that for the most part. And the fact that I do think we have to have a conversation, but I think your and my definition of what that conversation actually is a little different.
Okay, please explain. Yeah.
Well, so I was telling you before, I mean, so far the biggest sell I've made just through the conversation started in the comments on someone else's content. And then it moved to a 20-minute conversation in the DMs. We never actually, our voices I hadn't seen her other than through her content online. That's all she had seen from me. But she had seen my testimonials on my LinkedIn profile. And we had a 20-minute conversation in DM. And when we hung up from that thing, she sent me $3,000. So for me, that was enough conversation with her, back and forth and stuff, and obviously for her as well to do that. And for a lot of people, though, they're like, well, if I didn't actually get on like a call like you and I are having or on the phone or something, then they wouldn't do that. So I think it depends on what we consider conversation. At the end of the day, though, it still does come back to trust.
Well, it does, because you and I had let's call this a debate. Let's call this a debate that we ought to be able to have on any topic. Um,
Right.
it's a healthy, maybe not disagreement, but you had mentioned that your biggest purchase was $15,000
Yeah.
and never had a conversation.
I did not. It was at a live workshop event that the only way you could engage with the host at all was in the comments. There was no other way. And of course, it was a big event. So it's not like she was engaging with anybody, really. I mean,
Right.
there was, I want to say, 2 or 3 thousand people at the event. It's huge. And yeah, I spent $15,000 to work with them, a marketing consulting company, by the end of the event. But she did a lot of work for 2 days showing us what she did and what was going to happen. And by the end, I felt comfortable. That's been actually the biggest one-time purchase I've made on a coach for my own company. I mean, I've spent thousands
Sure.
literally across the board on multiple coaches, but that's been my biggest one so far, buying consulting for my own company.
Okay.
And yeah, I did that without having an actual conversation with her beforehand.
Okay. Yeah, and that, I always tell people I'm a sample size of one, right? So what my view of the world and what I'm comfortable with is not, I can't, I can't impose that on anybody. I can't extrapolate that to, hey, everybody thinks this way. No, I think this way. I don't know that I would have made the purchase. But I don't know. I didn't go through a 2-day thing. I didn't see all that you saw.
Yeah, and I think it also comes to how much social proof they have online and stuff. You were mentioning Amazon at the beginning of the show, so that's a great place to kind of take this back to. Amazon's really, in my opinion, a safe space to buy something, even if it's in the thousands of dollars. I mean, I've bought computers through
Sure.
Amazon, which are not cheap, but Amazon has so many testimonials and reviews. Now, of course, these days we also know some of them have been faked, but if you read enough of them, you kind of get a pretty good idea, is this product a good product or not? Enough worth trying it. And then Amazon has such a good return policy. So to me, Amazon is almost a safe bet.
Hmm. Okay.
But when you're talking about buying services like coaching and website design or anything like that, a lot of that's non-refundable. So that's a lot less safe.
Yeah.
So you got to do your due diligence to build trust. And I have to say, the one I spent, and this is going to be the strangest one for me. It's probably the one that I had done the least. Normally, when I hire a coach, I probably followed them and stalked them for, I don't know, 5 to 6 months ahead. Really
Right.
and I've had conversations. I've interacted with them. I know how they were going to speak to me. So when that one came up, it was actually a brand new one for me. And I had signed up for the event like 2 weeks before. So I had started getting to know her a little then by checking out her website. I had gone in and checked out whatever reviews I could, clients that had already worked with her. And then I experienced the 2-day event. And at the end of it, yeah, we bought. And it wasn't a bad deal. I learned so much. I did. I learned a lot and everything. That being said, I don't know that I'll ever do that again without having an actual conversation.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. And I don't think there's a wrong answer to any of this, really. I mean, if speaking of Amazon, if you're Jeff Bezos, to drop $15,000 is nothing, right?
Yeah. For me, that
If
was a big purchase.
right, it's what I mean. So you have to have that context as well. Where people are at financially. That's where their level of trust is. But what I find interesting, all this, I want to kind of back up for our audience. This is what you help coaches do: is you help coaches build this trust,
Yeah.
because most people aren't getting someone to spend $15,000 with them.
Mm-mm.
Maybe over a couple of
No,
days they earn that, but it's not easy, right? It's not easy to build that trust, and you don't routinely have people spending $3,000 with you. I wish you did, but you probably don't. Just on a
I
quick.
do actually. My starting package
Okay,
now is at 5 grand.
okay,
So yeah, that was my rates 4 years ago at the three. And
okay,
so I'm up, I start at 5,000. 1-to-1 with me starts at 8,000. But I've built a reputation.
okay.
I have built it. And so we also, you got to think about, and I think this is the hardest part for me is so many people get burnt because they don't do their homework. And there are some really good marketing and sales people out there that aren't necessarily the best provider of whatever it is they're selling.
Yeah,
I mean, you've seen it. I know no matter what, probably you've been in a room with somebody, and by the end you were like, oh man, you were pretty much sold. You may not have bought, but you were still pretty much hyped up. You
yeah.
hadn't had that chance to cool down, think about it for a minute. And then once you got to thinking about it and you started realizing it was partly the showmanship and that kind of stuff, it wasn't. And then you started really digging into them and you're like, whoa, I'm glad I didn't go through with that. Because
Mm,
unfortunately, a lot of people get burnt because, and I hate coaching industry, man. I love it. We do a lot of good for people, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that come into things thinking they can be a coach and they've been in business 3 months. It's like
yeah,
you haven't built a business yet. You don't know what it's like to go through the ups, the downs, the everything else. And yet, because they have such good skills at selling and marketing themselves, people get it and then they get burnt. And then I have to fix that later.
yeah,
And so that's a hard thing too with it because a lot of trust gets broken because people don't do their homework. At the end of the day, for me, it always comes back to doing your homework. So, have I gotten burnt by a coach once or twice? Yeah, but I always took something away that I learned big
yeah,
time from it.
yeah. Well, I got hammered last year,
Hmm.
and it it was a learning experience. You know what the worst part about it was, Heidi, is that I was telling my wife about it, and she told me not to do it.
Oh.
She told me not to do it, and I did it. And
Uh, so let me ask you, did you ask her what that she saw and why she said no, and then why did you go through with it anyway?
well, I went through it out of hope that it was
Okay.
right. You know.
Okay.
Now my wife is she's very conservative financially, um, and so she questions a lot of things. You know, do you don't need socks? You got socks. I mean, it's right. Just wonderful woman, but she questions a lot of things, and um, she questioned, I own this networking business. She questioned me buying it, and we joke, it's like whenever you poo poo something, Linda, it works out. Um, so that she did say, don't do it. But, whenever I tell you not to do something, it always seems to work out. Well, this one didn't. And so she kind of has that over my head. But that's life, right? I mean, I think we just take chances. Um,
Well, I think everybody's entitled to screw it up once or twice. I mean, come on.
yeah, no, I totally agree. Totally agree. But back to our whole conversation about just trust. I guess when you work with newer coaches and try to get them to understand that, because let me use plumbers as a metaphor or as an analogy, right? Guy works for a company. He's a great plumber. He's accumulated all the tools. He's got all the knowledge. He decides to go out on his own because you know what? I'm as good a plumber as any plumber that's out there, and I can charge less. and they get their truck and a phone number, and then nothing happens. And I think that's a
Yeah.
lot of what's happening with coaches and consultants out there. I work for this
Mhm.
company and I did a great job. I worked in HR, and a lot of my business, a lot of what I did in working for the company was,
Oh.
coaching and consulting people. I can kind of go do this, and then they get crickets, right? So
Yeah, we see it all the time. And the problem is people don't realize what it takes to actually be a business owner. They don't have the skills. They don't realize you're literally going to wear all the hats. And so you know what? You're great at what you do, but you got to learn how to market yourself. You got to learn how to sell. You got to learn how to build trust. You got to learn how to connect with your clients. You got to learn your own admin. I mean, you become your own HR, everything, so many people jump into it's owning your own business has been romanticized in a negative way in some ways, I feel like, because so many business coaches and just people in general have come into the idea of it's you can get rich quick, it happens fast. There are all these myths that they're sold, and that post content clients will come. I mean, how many people have we seen do that? And that's not the case.
no,
An online business is just like an offline business, and it's a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and years.
yeah, yeah,
You have those people who jump out the door and you see that maybe overnight they literally did have a business are rare. Those are unicorns. What you usually don't see is literally everything that went into that overnight success was usually a ton of years.
yeah,
But people don't see all that. They only see it once it hits that good point. And again, I mean, this comes back to the trust is they didn't see all the agonizing growth people went through. And people they get desperate. They start taking shortcuts. There's a lot online. I mean, the online space is amazing. We've been connected to the world in a lot of space, but it's also allowed a lot of lying and stuff to come in. But then again, snake oil salesmen have been since the beginning of time,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
so, so you've got to be able to build a business online where you're reputable, because most of us don't want to be a bad person. We want to be a good person. We want to do right by our clients. So we've got to set ourselves up in a way to build trust while also getting our own bills paid and show up as a decent human being.
yeah.
And we've got to be able to prove it. And this day and age, when anybody and everybody jumping into business, what do you do to stand out? That's the big things, you know?
Well, in my mind, it goes back to what we started talking about. It goes back to trust and building trust and having
Yeah,
relationships with people.
yeah, it
And
does.
I see people doing a lot of posting. Um, and posts, let's be honest, posts for the most part are very varnished, very, you know what?
Curated. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's, I'm in my
yeah.
swimsuit, or I'm at the gym, or, I'm walking up to a helicopter. Hey, can I walk up to your helicopter and get a picture? I mean, it's like,
I know.
and
Well, and I think here's the other thing people miss too. So you have influencers online and you have business owners online. Influencers have a different goal. And there's so many people. I was just talking to my friend about this the other day. There's so many business owners taking advice from influencers because influencers blow up. They get big quick because they build big audiences, and people think, oh, big audience, they must be somebody I can trust. Take Alex Hormozy, for example. I mean, he is a business owner, but he really blew up as an influencer as well. And like one of his pieces of advice right now is telling people to go out and send 100 of their connections DMs per day. That's impossible for most people.
yeah,
It's going to burn you out. It's not going to build you trust because it's cold DMs. And who has time to send 100 of those a day to all their connections? But people are taking this guy, he built a gym. Now he's trying to get online and he's doing it because people believe him and all this, but they're not taking into account where he came from. And I'm not saying the guy hasn't done well. I'm not saying his advice isn't good for the right people that are at his level doing what he does. But for the average business owner, his advice sucks.
Yeah.
It's not for them. It's for people that already have a big team. It's for people who are building influencer accounts, not a small business at this point. And then they can scale from there. And so the average advice out there for business owners that you really got to vet who you're taking advice from. So people, a small business owner would be better off taking advice from, say, me than they would him because we're in two different places. I don't have the giant team he does. I mean, but I've got 30 some years in
Yeah.
building five businesses. I know how to build a small business. I know how to get it off the ground. I've taken businesses to a multi six figure. I've done this stuff and I've done it all without giant teams. Now, do I want to end up in Alex Hormozzi's place? Yes, I do.
Sure.
But I'm not there. And right now, anybody who's in a small business space that either has just themselves or they've only got a couple of maybe part-time team members or something like that is going to be better off taking advice from somebody like me than they are him because he's in a way different place. His advice doesn't work for us anymore.
It reminds me of I'm dating myself, the late night Carlton Sheets real estate seminars they would sell you on. So you'd go for a weekend and learn how to buy real estate, no money down. I had a friend who went through it and he was just totally enamored with, oh my gosh, this is great. And this Carlton Sheets knows everything. It's no lose. And I was very skeptical because it's like, if it's so great, if I'm Carlton Sheets, I'm not telling people the secrets. I'm out there duplicating. It doesn't make any sense, right? And
Yeah.
so a lot of times when I hear people, talking about their successes online, and maybe again, I'm a sample size of one. It's my own skepticism, but it's like, yeah, I don't. Why are you saying this? Why do you have to be telling me this? And if you're telling me this because you want me to buy, that's that's a different message. That's
So what message would you take? Okay, so you're not impressed by, say the guy actually does have the Lamborghini in the pool
Yep.
and that's a real photo. Let's just say it is. That obviously didn't impress you because you got skepticism. First of all, it's not real.
Yeah.
So what from him would it have taken for you to have trusted him?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure. My question is, I know I was an attorney. I know people who, because I did estate planning and did valuation type things. I I know of people who are on paper really well off, and you would never know that they're really well
Hmm.
off because they don't need to flaunt it. So I'm always skeptical of why somebody needs to flaunt that. There's an
Mm.
insecurity there. Um, and again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just my own view of the world. But that, either they're lying or there's some sort of insecurity, and I don't know that I want to buy into that. Much to your
Hmm.
point, it's like that's not me. Yeah, I would love to be really successful, but I would be quiet about it.
I'm with you on that. I don't doubt all those people. It's just not my type of thing. Like
Yeah,
I don't if I'm celebrating my own win, it's because it was something really, really special to me and I really wanted to share. I'm actually the more wins I shout out are my clients' wins. Because
exactly.
I adore being able to tell the world because I want to celebrate their wins. And it's not even just about me bragging that, hey, I helped my client do this.
Yeah.
No, it's my client did this.
Yes.
And that to me, for me, shows more relevance and more trustworthiness than the guy shouting out, I own this, I had this, even though if you know it's true. For me, that's more building trust for me as well.
Yeah.
So, and I'm with you. I used to own a landscape company back in the day. I started that one at 21. And I worked with the top CEOs, movie stars, you name it. I worked with creme de la creme on the top. And I had this guy, there is no way you would have known he was, and this was a billionaire back in the 90s.
Yep. Yeah.
So that just tells you where he was at. He drove this beat up old little I think it was a Datsun pickup or something like that. It was old and it was beat to hell. He did live in a golf course community. He did have his golfing membership, but he had one of the smaller houses in the community. And you never knew he did this. He nitpicked my bill every freaking month.
Yep.
Loved him to death, but still, every bill we had to go over every month. But this guy literally in the 90s was a billionaire. So, I mean, a lot of them are that way, but then some people like to show it off, and I don't judge for that. And I think we live in a different society than it was back then. Like it or not, I mean, real TV and that kind of stuff is out there and the shows and everything, and people have gotten a little bit more flashy with showing off their stuff. I mean, like I said, it's still not my style, but hey, I don't judge for that. I'm still going to dig deeper to see if it's real
Yeah.
or is it the guy that just happened to be walking by the Lambo and snapped the photo.
Yeah. Well, I think
So,
there's a difference between judging and buying,
yeah.
right? And I think that's, okay, the guy's got a picture of a Lamborghini in his pool, and it's his Lamborghini in his pool. It's okay, great. I'm just not, I'm not interested in having that person coach me.
Yeah, that's not going to be what's going to build the trust with you. You need
Yeah,
more.
yeah. So
Something
I think,
else. You don't just need that he owns a Lambo and a house as proof as to how he can help you. You want that deeper conversation and trust and proof he's actually going to be able to help you.
well, I love your style of, hey, look at this client, right? Here's the before, here's the after. And go talk to the client. I worked with them for 3 years. You can,
Right?
they'll tell you it sucked in the beginning, or it wasn't, I had to change my ways. It wasn't magic, because you know that I can buy into. I think the bottom line here is you have to have trust to buy, and I think we all come to trust in a different way. Um, and some people are willing to certainly purchase online, as you've indicated, but it still takes trust. It's just how we accumulate
It
it.
it does, and I think in an online business it takes even more trust. I mean, we're connecting literally around the world these days. I
Yeah,
work with clients literally around the world. And you just have to be able to set yourself up to show people you can do. And like you, I would encourage anybody. I mean, that's the reason I like LinkedIn recommendations. I can't put them up there. The
right.
people have to put them up there. If I want to edit it, I have to go ask the person to edit it, so they have a choice not to. I could take it down, but because of that, I'm always like, anybody's like, okay, what is it? Can I talk to some of your clients? What is it like to work with you? And I'm like, look, there's almost 40 recommendations here. You are welcome to call any one of them you want. Reach out. Hey, I'm thinking about working with Heidi. Do it. And I think that is probably one of the best ways you can do it, because if you aren't hiding anything and you don't care, I have all my clients have an absolute amazing time working with me. I try to make it as painless as possible, but I've
Right.
had clients in tears. I've had clients pissed at me in some weeks. I mean, you name it, I've done it. I'm not perfect,
Well, you
but
got 30 years.
also we're human beings, and sometimes I'm going to say some things they aren't going to be happy with me at
Yeah.
first on, because they're not ready to adjust that with themselves yet, and I'm pointing out that thing, and it's like, yeah, we got to get over this. And so it's not always rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's the other side of it. I really believe in the online space, not enough people are sharing the whole story, the good, the bad, the ugly, that it's not always, we're curating too much to make it look good. Now, I'll tell my clients, I mean, sometimes I've had posts where I put out, hey, I fucked up with my client and here's how
Yeah.
I did it. And I will put that out. And then the client will be in the comments, oh, Heidi, it wasn't that bad. And it's like, it was that bad to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a big mistake, and I'm owning that mistake. And I think that's the difference too, is do your people own the mistakes? Do they show that they make mistakes? Are they willing to tell you they screw up? I think a lot of people really need to look at social feeds and what people are doing. Does it look too pretty? Are they showing you what I like to call the Insta life? Or are they showing you everything? Are they
Right.
willing to tell you it's not always great? Are they sitting there promising you, I will never promise any of my clients overnight success? Do most of them start getting results usually within the first week? They'll start seeing little things happen. Absolutely. But honestly, when you start a new marketing, new sales, all this kind of stuff, it's usually 90 days before you really start seeing some results. And it could be up to a year.
Yeah.
But you're getting results. You're getting small wins through me the whole time, and it snowballs and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But can I promise that after a client works with me 6 months that they're going to have already signed their first client? I hope so, but not necessarily, because what I'm teaching is life skills. It might be, I had one of my clients, a past client, get up with me I guess about 3 months ago, and I worked with her approximately 18 months ago. We worked together for 9 months. We had amazing stuff. She had small sales and stuff with me. And then she let me know, it was about 3 months ago, she sent me a thing. She's like, we had put her rates up, but she was still scared to put them up. That's their decision. I make the recommendation. It's not up to me after that. But she had finally put them up, and she sent me a thing, and she's like, Heidi, I just sold my first package to my client at $5,000. That took her 18 months.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting.
So I think it's this whole thing. We must have dialogue. You can't be scared to ask questions and get context. Context is important especially for building trust.
This has been great. Let's shift gears. Tell us a little bit about how people can work with you, how they can find you.
Everybody can find me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest place to find me. Everything's there. Website's coming back. We're in the middle of a revamp on that, so I don't want to send anybody there.
Okay.
But yeah, LinkedIn, Heidi Medina. And it's true. For me, it's about helping small to mid-sized business owners really build trust online, all this stuff we've been talking about. And it's about getting online and being able to have a conversation to build that trust. Because for a lot of people, there's this massive disconnect. You'll hear everybody say, well, in the real world, well, social media is part of the real world these
Yep.
days. It's
Yep.
just online and off. So how can you become the same person online that you are offline and value those customers the same? Because that's what's keeping a lot of people from getting clients online, is they're sitting there saying, well, with my real life customers, and it's like, those are real life too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's helping them get out and have that actual conversation in a way that does connect, does build trust, so that they're not just chasing visibility all the time. They're not just chasing likes and followers.
I really appreciate your time. This has been very insightful. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Frank. This was awesome.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.